Hi, sir. ఎలా ఉన్నారు?
Hi Ranjan, I'm doing good. You?
I'm doing good too, sir.
Okay, so what are the questions you have? And
Sir, actually, so what happened? Like initially, I told you, right? I didn't know a couple of topics, and you told, okay, let's start with this training plan and stuff. So I am like I learned a lot of things during the training things, and also it made me revise some topics which I already know, and you know that revising is always good, right? So I think it is beneficial for me. And also now that in this phase, I want to prepare a resume, right? But about the experience, I wanted to know about the experience, sir. So like, uh, I got my UG done in 2020, and
so is
my
your resume ready?
yeah, Maha told she is done. She just needs to ask you, and also she has messaged me like ask Ram sir about the experience and let me know like that. So
Okay,
that's
so let's work out on that now. Course ended in August.
yes, yes, sir, yes,
So you have done 2 year course.
yes.
You have no gap at all. So here you have 6 months of gap. Here you have 4 months of gap. And here, so you mentioned freelancing. What is this?
So actually, what happened, sir? So before the consultancy process and all, so I was having talks with a couple of these resume helping people, right? So they told me whatever projects which you did in college,
Hmm.
why don't you add it as a freelance? Then
Okay.
that those are the projects which I did it in college, and I just added them in freelance.
Hmm. Freelance, let me see if there is anybody to accept. No, freelance is not going to work out in the Canadian market.
Okay.
So you have learned DevOps with AWS, right?
Yes, sir.
And how well do you know Kubernetes?
7, 8.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
And what about Azure? Do you know Azure?
So I have worked with Azure during my college projects, but mostly these development DevOps approaches and all, right? They took it with AWS,
Hmm.
so they didn't take it with Azure. So I have like not a lot of experience with Azure, but yes, I have worked with it.
What about Linux?
Linux, I know, sir. So I learned Linux and cybersecurity, right? My first course, so it was revolving all around Linux and different OSs and stuffs. So yes, I know Linux pretty well. So I can, if you give me a code, then I can debug it, or I can even say what it is going to do and stuff.
Oh, you wanted to. So this freelance work, whatever you have done, this is the work you have done in your college, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, in my college.
Okay. Then what is your plan? Are you planning to show some experience from any company you know?
No, sir, I do not know any company, so that's why I'm kind of here. I want you to guide me, like what is the best thing I can do, like that. So instead of uh, instead of me doing something wrong, it's better to let you guide me yourself, right? So yes, I'm here.
You don't know any company, right?
No, sir.
So you don't have any gap. That is the biggest problem. So we can't put these many number of tools. The internship experience we can put instead of freelancing experience. I don't want to put this database DevOps also. The rest all is okay, but I don't want to show this Ansible.
Even if I know Ansible, you don't want me to show that, does it? Like Ansible?
How will you explain? That is the problem. So
Okay,
in a very
yes.
limited period of time,
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, I understand.
how do you get opportunity to work on so many tools?
Yes. sir.
That is the problem, how you cannot answer that question. Python, how much of Python do you know?
Python, I don't know that much, sir. So I could give 4 or 5. That's it.
So Sharon, what specific questions do you have?
Okay, sir. Welcome back, sir, to Canada.
Thank you.
So, sir, I did have some questions like regarding some points in my resume, like how to explain them if I come across questions in interview. So,
Okay, go ahead. So do you like to share your screen and do it?
yes, sir, just give me a second.
Okay.
So, I have one point here. Like I perform the task of branching, tagging, and merging the codes between branches.
Okay.
So, sir, as I don't have like like deep experience with the coding and DevOps thing, so how do I'm gonna explain this point if I come any question?
Okay. So have you done practicing Git?
Yes, sir. Git, Jenkins, I
No,
did.
no, no. Only Git. Have you practiced either GitHub or GitLab
Um,
or
yes, I tried to like fork some coding from there, like to perform some jobs.
yeah. So whether you do the coding or not, as a software engineer, everybody is expected to know in and out of Git. Period. Whether it is a database administrator or a cloud administrator or a DevOps engineer or a full stack developer or a front end engineer. If it
Okay,
is software, then everybody is expected to learn Git.
Git.
It is a
Yes.
de facto tool that everybody should be well versed with, because whether you write 100 lines of code or 1 million lines of code, it is always through Git.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm familiar with Git, like how
Yeah.
to
So if
perform.
you practice Git, then you will have the concept of creating branches.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can create a dev branch or a master branch.
Yes, sir.
Or,
The master branch.
okay, you can create so many branches.
Okay.
You can tag the code. There is concept of when you merge the code into another branch from branch A to branch B, then you can merge it using some tagging.
Okay.
Okay, and you can also merge to the code from two branches. You can see the conflicts. You really need to, practice this thing. Otherwise, you are going to face a lot of difficulties.
Okay,
You
sir.
have to
Okay.
understand the basic terminology like what is check-in, what is checkout, what is tagging, what is branching, how do you create branches, what is forking, how do you fork the code, how do you
Ye-
merge two branches, how do you, what is called as a cherry picking.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. I'll do that.
Yeah, my advice would be pick up a course in Udemy.
Okay, sir.
Okay, and do and as a practice, what you can do is go to GitHub
Okay.
and pick up some open source code.
Okay, sir.
And then using your local Git environment, you might be using some client, right? Which client are you using?
Um,
Git client.
sir, I have my repository there. Like I have created
But
my own
locally, which Git client? Because Git is a server-based technology, but you need to have a client.
Sir, I'm having MacBook, so
Even with MacBook, you might have used some Git client, no?
um
So you tell Ranjan. So what Git client are you using?
Sir, I am using Git Bash, sir. So I've downloaded that. Actually, previously I used to use Cloud9 in AWS, and then I used to do all of my. I used to configure my Git
You both
credentials.
really need to, So let me give you some hands-on exercise. Okay, let me. Because I'm a bit worried you did not practice it yet. So let me still create one small homework task for you so that you know what is going on. So, where is it? Okay, so let me do some audio recording for you. Sharon, SHARAN. Okay, I'm sending you a recording, Sharon, to your group. You forward that recording to Ranjan also. This is a hands-on exercise I want you to practice. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So I want you to show this in the next, I'll give you 2 days of time. This is a very important that nobody should, nobody can, escape. Okay, what you have to do is, you need to register in GitHub.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and sign up and create your own GitHub account. That is number one. Number two, what you need to do is you need to install a Git client.
Okay, sir.
The frequently used Git client is Visual Studio Code.
Okay, sir.
It is more an editor and an IDE, integrated development environment, which also has integrated Git.
Okay, sir.
Okay, using Visual Studio Code, connect to a repository in GitHub.
Okay, sir.
You pick up one free repository in GitHub.
Okay, sir.
Fork it into your GitHub account.
Okay,
and
sir.
then make it private.
Okay.
Okay, and connect that GitHub account repository to your Visual Studio Code.
Okay, sir.
Okay, then you will be able to see that code in your Visual Studio Code tool.
Fine, sir.
Now what you have to do is try to create some 3 branches.
Okay.
Dev branch, QA branch, prod branch, and a master branch.
Okay.
Okay, these are the branches. Now try to do some changes in dev branch
Okay.
and merge those changes into QA branch, because once you finish the coding in dev, you have to give it for testing. So you have to merge it to the QA branch.
Okay, sir.
Okay, again you merge the QA code doing some changes and merge it to the prod branch.
Okay, sir.
Okay, that is what you will be doing in branching and merging the code.
Fine, sir.
Okay, tagging, you don't do it yet. Automatically you will come to know what is tagging and all, but this is a very basic exercise that you can do.
Fine, sir. Will do it.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so I sent that audio recording to you in your WhatsApp group. Forward that to Ranjan also.
Okay, sir.
Okay, or instead what you can do is you can forward this to the DevOps group, DevOps training group.
Okay, sir.
Yeah,
Fine.
DevOps training group, or maybe um, uh,
I am in a DevOps training group, sir.
yeah, you're in DevOps training group, forward it to all the folks. This is a must-have exercise that you should be doing. Unless you practice, even if I tell 100 things, you will not be able to understand.
Okay.
Because this Git work is always hands-on.
Okay, sir.
From the answers which you both has mentioned, I am least confident that you really did some practice on Git. Let me be honest.
No, sir. I did like using the images from Git for Dockers. I tried that. Like, few of exercises I used Git for those exercises, but I had some confusion with these terminologies because I hadn't tried these
No,
branching.
you should know how to connect between the Git client and Git server, do the branching, making some changes. That you should do hands-on practice. Take it
Okay.
very seriously and do the practice. You exactly follow whatever homework I have given you in the audio recording.
Definitely, sir. I'll do that.
Okay.
So
Yes, sir.
actually, sir, so I joined when we were taking Sonar Cube, right? So I
Hmm.
have worked with Git. So usually when I used to work with Git, right, we used to have an instance in AWS Cloud9, and that is also a SDK, right? So we used to what we
That
used to
is
do.
a ready-made one. See, the
Yeah.
Cloud9 is something which is ready-made for experienced professional, not for you guys.
Okay.
In the real environment, when you go to a company, you will be asked to code everything in your local laptop. Not, they don't give you Cloud9 accounts.
Okay.
Okay, they ask you to code it and then push the code to Git. That's what they tell you.
Okay.
To code it, what tool do you use? Right?
Yeah, Visual Studio Code. That
Visual
also.
Studio Code is a free tool. So no company gives you restrictions to install that.
Yeah.
And then you should be able to connect to that Git. So you
Yeah.
need to know
Internet.
how to connect, how to create that authentication token and everything.
Yeah. You
Okay.
just go to
There is a
profile.
process for that. You need to do some Google search on that.
Yeah, sir. I have created tokens actually, sir. Like
Yeah. So those things, once you keep doing it, you will be able to, automatically understand that point, Sharon.
then I configure the username and the password for that, and then we usually pull the code and work, and then we add the code, git add, and
Hmm.
if it is a certain file, then we mention the file, or else if it is about all the directory, we just go to the directory and just add git add dot, and then it adds all the files to the staging environment.
Exactly.
So,
So that is CLI. That is
yeah.
step number 3. What I told you is step number 1. Step number 2 is what is called as a branching strategy, like Git flow, GitHub flow, and there is a concept called as tagging, which you will use in the step 3. Step 2. Step 3 is more like more advanced. So what you are going to do is step 1. Once you are done with step 1, I will give you homework for step 2.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So you basically I used to do this only, sir. So after this adding stuff, right? I used to commit it with a message,
Yeah,
and then I used to push the code to the repository.
yeah.
And then if I need to make any changes, if I need to merge the branch, no, I used to first check out to the branch which I want to then,
Create
and
a
then
space between Azure and DevOps. There is a typo. Yeah. So what is the next point you wanted to understand, Sharon?
Sir, that was it. There is one this point. So I'm familiar with SLA, but I'm not sure about this SLI and SLO. I was trying to Google it, but I didn't get like good
Okay.
understanding of this.
So site reliability means, what is site reliability?
Sir, to manage the all the tasks of um, creating the infrastructure of Azure, or like all the services of Azure, managing them in a way to support the uh, daily jobs of the team.
sir, what we do is only
No,
something.
no. See, site reliability is the concept of making sure that the systems run in a reliable manner.
Okay, sir.
It can be a infrastructure system, or it can be an application, or it can be an organization, or it can be a building, or it can be a small furniture, or it
Got
can be an electronic item. So site reliability means making sure that the site can be, I told you, it can be a table, or it can be a computer, or it can be an application. The site is reliable. What is the definition of reliability? Reliability is nothing but
High availability,
no.
and the architecture doesn't fail.
No. Reliability means the system working what it is supposed to work at any point of time.
Okay,
For,
sir.
for example, sometimes what happens is our computer, if there is too much of a heat in the room, the computer automatically shuts down.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes in the mobile in the winter, if it is too cold, the mobile automatically shuts off.
Yes, sir.
Which means, what does it mean? They are not reliable.
They are not reliable. Yes.
Reliability means the system, whatever it may be, system or an infrastructure or a table or a pen or a bulb or whatever it is, working what it is supposed to work at any point of time.
Got
So,
it.
as an SRE, as a site reliability engineer, what you will be doing is you will be making sure that the systems work what they are supposed to work at any point of time. For that, what you have to do, you have to do some automation work, you have to do some alerting work and etc etc etc. But the problem is, if iPhone promises my phone is always reliable and you put it in a very minus 30 degrees snow, will it still work? It won't work, right?
Yes, sir.
So there are always some exceptions. That is how the world works. World is never ideal.
Yes, sir.
It always has some ups and downs.
Yes, sir.
Same is the case with computer systems or applications. They always, sometimes they go down. It is normal behavior.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But how much down?
Yes, sir.
How much down? Do you think 1 minute down is okay for you? Bank says no, it is not okay for me. Okay, but for me it is okay. 1 minute downtime chalta hai,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
right? But in a rocket, is that 1 minute going to work out?
No, sir.
What about 1 second?
I don't
No. Even
know.
1 millisecond, no. 1 microsecond, no. Right? Maybe some 1 millionth of a second, that might be okay for rocket.
Yes, sir.
So it keeps changing from system to system. So that is called, what is called a service level agreement, SLA.
Yes.
Service level agreement is the agreement between you, who is designing the system, and the end customer. So if it is with SpaceX rocket, and if I am the developer or the development company, then for me the service level agreement is 99.999999999 something. But if it is between me and some normal company where we are running their website, then for them 90% is fine. The service level agreement, right?
Yes, sir. That I understand, sir. But
That is SLA. Then what is SLI? Service level indicators. Okay, so how do you define SLA? SLA means uptime, 99 point something. But to make sure that uptime is there, you need to create some internal indicators, right? So for example, what is your response time? Response time is one indicator.
okay.
What is your what do you call acknowledgement time? Response time is different. Acknowledgement time, fixing time. Okay, and uh, acknowledgement time, fixing time, and response time. These are three general SLIs. For example, there is an issue. Okay, in how many minutes you should respond about that issue? For example, a database is down in a company. Then if you are the SRE, then you'll automatically get an alert. You'll get a call directly. Hey, Sharanbir, the automated call from tools like PagerDuty, or there are so many other tools. Okay, there is an issue in so and so database server is down at so and so time. Please acknowledge. Then you will press acknowledge.
Okay.
Okay, then immediately you log into the system and you will do the diagnosis.
Okay.
Okay, so then you will inform everybody saying that, hey guys, our database server is down and I'm aware of the issue. I'm working on fixing it. Currently, there is no estimated time when it can be fixed. I'll keep you posted. So you acknowledge that issue. That is one service level indicator.
Okay.
Okay, then how much time do you take to fix it? There will be some agreement. Whatever may be the issue, you should fix it in 2 hours or 1 minute or whatever agreement that we will have with the client.
Okay, sir.
That is so, that is one more SLI.
Got it, sir.
Okay. And there is third one called as SLO, service level objectives. Service level SLA is between the company and the end client. SLO is between internal to the company.
Okay, sir.
For example, if we know, right, if client says I need the project done in 1 month, internal deadline is we should finish the project in 3 weeks only, so that there we have 1 week of a buffer.
Okay,
So the
sir.
internal deadline is 3 weeks, external deadline is 4 weeks. Same thing here. SLA is external indicator. SLO is internal indicator.
Okay, sir.
Understood? So
Yes,
again, you have to Google about this.
I'll do.
What is SLA? What are the roles and responsibilities of a site reliability engineer? I'm recording this, so you watch this recording also, so that you know how to prepare this.
Fine, sir.
Yeah,
I'll do it.
you have to understand what is site reliability, what is the definition of an SRE, what are the roles and responsibilities of an SRE,
Yes,
what is meant by SLA, SLI, SLO, and the science behind all these things.
fine, sir.
So if you that is going to be, most of the cloud engineers are hired as SREs only.
Okay, sir.
Even most of the DevOps engineers are also hired as SREs only. So you should be very much well versed with this terminology.
Fine, sir. I'll Google
And
it.
did your marketing start?
Yes, sir. It is.
And when did it start?
On a Friday.
On Friday. So I
Yeah, this
think
Friday.
since your marketing is started, you need to be really on your toes, Sharon.
Yes, sir. I'm preparing these concepts on daily basis. So I had confusion with these terminologies. That's why I wanted to have
Good,
session.
good. Then I'm glad you have identified this well ahead,
Yes,
instead
sir.
of wasting 1 month of time and then realizing, oh, what is the definition of this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank
Okay,
you. Yes, sir.
okay. Next one.
No, sir.
Let's
That was
give
all from
let's give Ranjan a choice. Ranjan, what exactly a question you have? You might have some random, need not be from a resume. Do you have any specific
Yeah, sir. Actually, we put an internship, right, for me. So how will that come for a 2 years plus experience, sir? I mean,
no, it won't come as a 2+ years experience. It will come as nearly 1 year of experience. I need
okay,
to still figure out. That's why it is still in 0.9
okay.
resume. So I'll still figure out. This is something I need to figure out. So let's have a quick, tech discussion. How do you create infrastructure pipeline? Okay, in whatever tool you want to create resources in Azure or AWS, whatever cloud you want. So tell me, how do you create that infrastructure pipeline?
Considering app as an example or something like that, sir.
Anything. Let's say I want to create a virtual machine in Azure.
Okay,
Okay. Now
okay.
tell me, how do you create an infrastructure pipeline in Jenkins or Azure DevOps or in AWS code pipeline, whatever you wanted to use. Uh, how do you do it?
So we have not touched Jenkins pipeline, But what I assume from what I've learned, so basically we'll deploy first our network architecture and instance architecture using Terraform, I guess. And then with the like whatever
First
code
of
we
all,
have.
what technology you said you will use Terraform, right?
Yes.
What about you, Sharon? What technology will you use?
Sir, we can use Jenkins or DevOps to create pipelines.
No, what is the infrastructure automation technology you
Yeah,
will do?
Terraform, sir. Terraform or PowerShell we can use.
What about you, Ahmed? What will you use?
Well, there are a lot of tools
Yeah, what will
like
you use?
Bash, PowerShell, Ansible, and Terraform.
No. Yeah, Terraform is correct. The Terraform is cloud agnostic, which is not dependent on any cloud. If it is cloud native, then for AWS, it is cloud formation. It's cloud formation, right? And in Azure, what is the technology?
PowerShell.
ARM.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say if the case is if you want to create a virtual machine in Azure using Azure native technology, then you will create an infrastructure pipeline in Azure DevOps using ARM templates to create a VM in Azure. That is one combination. Another combination is you can use an Jenkins or AWS code pipeline or Azure DevOps and use CloudFormation templates to create an EC2 instance in AWS. Okay, so the first solution is Azure specific solution. Second solution is AWS specific solution. Now the third is you can use Terraform to create a VM in AWS or Azure, because Terraform is not cloud dependent. Okay, but then how do you do it? Now let's take the case of Azure, or I think both are Azure candidates, right? So let's take how do you create an infrastructure pipeline in whatever tool you want to do to create a VM in Azure? Tell me, how do you do it?
If you're just using Terraform, then then I will install the Terraform and define the configuration in YAML and then deploy.
How? Tell me that is something which you are telling me in air. Tell me the steps. How do you do it?
So shall I give it a try for AWS?
What tool you are planning to use, by the way, for pipeline?
GitHub.
GitHub is a code repository. So
No, I mean GitHub also have a pipeline tool as well.
But GitHub is not a pipeline software, right?
Yeah. Azure DevOps.
Azure DevOps. Okay. What tool will you use, Sharon?
So Jenkins or DevOps we can use.
Jenkins, or what tool will you use, Ranjan?
Sir, I will use Jenkins. I will have my code hosted in a GitHub repository, my Terraform code.
Okay.
Then I'll
So your
use
Terraform code will be in GitHub,
private GitHub. Yes.
and your pipeline tool is Jenkins / Azure DevOps / AWS code pipeline. You can use any one of these, right?
Yes.
Okay. So your technology is identified, your CI/CD tool is identified, your destination is either an EC2 instance in AWS or a VM in Azure. So three are identified. Now, how do you do it? How do you create a pipeline in Jenkins or in Azure DevOps to connect to Git, pull the code, okay, and connect to cloud, authenticate, and then run your Terraform code or an ARM template or a CloudFormation template?
Okay, so basically, first I will create a GitHub configuration in Jenkins with the credentials provided.
Okay, so you'll connect GitHub with Jenkins
Jenkins, yes.
with the
And then
credentials provided.
and
Okay,
then I will be using the plugins for Terraform.
so you will use plugins for Terraforms. Okay,
And then I'll run the code, sir.
huh?
Yeah, Terraform code.
But don't you Jenkins has to authenticate with the cloud also, no? You authenticated with the code in GitHub.
Yes.
Can't Jenkins need to connect with the cloud?
AWS cloud, yeah.
How do you authenticate?
Oh, there is a plugin for that as well, sir. Just a minute.
How do you connect your Jenkins to the cloud?
Sir, we can use that by using terminal or command prompt maybe with our local host.
How? Tell me how. You have Jenkins.
Sir, again, I guess we can create this access keys, and then we can create a global credential in the Jenkins, and then we can authenticate the our cloud provider to Jenkins, right? So that the Jenkins can do the job.
So in Azure, for Jenkins to connect to Azure, there is what is called as a service principal. You have to create a service principal, which is a trusted source for a third-party application like Jenkins to connect to cloud like Azure. The same is the case with if you are trying to connect to Azure through an Azure DevOps, you still have to do it through a service principal. You have to create an app registration. You have to create, set up the authentication between Jenkins and. So let's do one small, I'll give you an exercise. You do it. Okay. Exercise number 1 is again, let me send it through recording. Okay, the task number 1 is create an ARM template and push it to GitHub. Okay, connect to GitHub through Azure DevOps, and then pull that ARM template code into Azure DevOps, and then connect to Azure through Azure DevOps and try to execute that ARM template on the Azure account. You can get that ARM template to create the VM from Google. I don't expect you to write an ARM template to. My worry is all about the connectivity between all these three. You can get that code on ARM template to create a VM, no problem. But then put that code in GitHub and then connect to that GitHub from Azure DevOps. Then connect to Azure from Azure DevOps. Then run the pipeline. Pipeline will automatically execute your ARM template, and your VM will be created in Azure. Very small lollipop exercise. This will give you immense practice. Okay. So I gave you 2 homeworks. One is a homework on Git, and the homework on Git will also be helpful in second task. So Sharon, what you will do is you forward this audio message and explain briefly. Like this is the homework, this is the audio message from Ram about homework, how to do on Git. Okay, and also same case with the other one.
Okay, sir.
Unless you practice all these things, it is not going. You have to, as a DevOps engineer, you have to work on 3 or 4 types of pipelines, Ranjan. Application deployment pipeline.
Just a minute, sir. I'll just make it.
This is recorded, so I will be sharing you the recording.
Okay, sure.
Okay, application deployment pipeline, Second one is an infrastructure deployment pipeline. Third one is configuration management pipeline. And fourth one is patch automation pipeline. These are the 4 types of pipelines that you will eventually have to write as a DevOps engineer. Whereas for cloud engineers, Sharan and Ahmed, you will be working on 2 or 3. One is the infrastructure automation pipeline for creating the resources, for updating the resources, or for deleting the resources. And configuration management pipeline for automating the configurations in your virtual machine servers or in the infrastructure. And third, the patch automation pipeline. This is eventually in your roles. These are the kinds of expectations they will have. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So I think we discussed two or three, I think about 4 or 5 points, of which I gave you 2 homework exercises. If you are able to do these 2 homework exercises in the next 2 to 3 days, you will really see change in yourself. You will be more confident, 50% more confident than you are today.
Sir, you just said for Azure, right? ARM templates. Can you just tell something for AWS so I can also do it?
The homework part,
Yeah.
you can just repeat, you can just change
Use it with AWS tools like
Yeah,
code.
use Jenkins,
Okay.
connect to GitHub,
Okay.
and from Jenkins connect to AWS and create an EC2 instance. And
Okay, sir.
instead of ARM template, you will be using CloudFormation template.
Okay.
Is there a simulation resource that
Kuch nahi milega bhai. Everything you have to.
well,
That's why I'm explaining to you like a baby.
searching is
This, do that, do this, step 1, step 2, step 3. Why do you think I'm explaining you like a baby? Because you can't get it like a full-blown plate in Google. You have to first figure out how to connect from Azure DevOps to Git. That itself takes your 1 day of your time. Okay. Next, you will have to figure out how to connect my Azure with Azure DevOps. That itself take to day number 2. Next, you have to search for some code in Google ARM template for creating a VM. Okay. You will get that code in 1 hour, but you have to run that code. So you have to do a lot of customizations to that code. So even copying is not very difficult, not easy. Huh? So 3 days is solid pakka time lagega. But if you do this practice, trust me, Sharan and Ahmad and Ranjan, you will see change in yourself. You will become 50% more confident. And you can answer your interview questions like a jiffy if you are religiously able to practice these 2 exercises which I gave you. First one is generic exercise, but second one is a solid for cloud engineers and DevOps engineers. If you're able to create one infrastructure pipeline, then you covered 80% of your infrastructure automation concept. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we will stop here. I'll also share this recording to you so that you can go through that exercise, but I'll be following up with you through your leads on what is the status of your homework.
Oh, sure.
Okay, bye.
Thank you so
Bye, sir.
much.
Take care.
Bye.